What's good, everybody? I'm Keandre, this is Intellect, and welcome back to the channel. Now, the college basketball season is officially back, so that means that it's time to talk about some of our first impressions of everything that we've seen so far this year. Now, the weird thing this year in comparison to others is those top guys aren't even in college basketball. You've got Scoot Henderson, Victor Wembanyama, you can even throw the Thompson twins in there, all not going to play college basketball, obviously. And then we have this, kind of injury bug going around. With Nick Smith Jr. out, Cam Whitmore, Dariq Whitehead, and then you even got Khalil Ware and Derek Lively kind of working their way up to speed. So that's all potential lottery picks that aren't in the mix. What is that, like 7 people who we aren't getting to see? So it is a bit different, but nonetheless, we still have a lot to talk about, and we will do 2 parts of this video. We'll talk about the Ignite in the second part as well. So be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new, and we'll go ahead and get into it, starting with Keyonte George of Baylor. So he did not shoot the ball very well in his first appearance, but he made a true impact defensively. He made a lot of plays for his teammates, both in and out of that zone, having 7 assists. And we're mostly curious about all the other things, not necessarily, we know that he can score the ball at a high level, and we've seen that for a pretty long time at this point. And then in game 2, we saw a little bit more of what we expected in terms of his shot making. He hit 6 threes. He's just a tremendous prospect. He's definitely in that top 7 to 10 range for me at the moment, and I really expect him to stay there, if not climb higher throughout the year. We'll see how he looks as the competition obviously gets tougher along the way. But yeah, I really like the kind of completeness of his game that he showed so far, and even like how he looks like he slimmed down a bit, taking his body more seriously. So it's good to see, and I think that he has probably been he's been up there as the best prospect to play so far this season. So shout out to Keyonte for what he's shown so far. I think the next guy who is going to attract a lot of attention over the course of the year, especially playing in the SEC, is Alabama's Brandon Miller. He's been off to an impressive start as well. Played well against Longwood, going for 14 points and 13 rebounds. He made some impressive plays driving to the bucket, hitting pull-ups. And then against Liberty, I thought he was pretty excellent. He hit some threes from really deep. He had a few more nice drives to the bucket. Right now, he looks like an easy top 10 pick, and I think that he could continue to climb over the course of the year. The first look series is going to come back at some point over the next month, and he would be one I definitely would keep your eyes peeled to, because I want to kind of get into more of the specifics of his game. But yeah, Brandon Miller's looking the part super early in the season. And the next guy we'll talk about, while he's not necessarily the top flight guy or somebody I view at the top of the draft right now in comparison to like Brandon Miller and Keyonte George, is Emoni Bates. He made his Eastern Michigan debut against Michigan. They barely lost that game, but he looked really, really good, doing a lot of the things that kind of made him who he is, and brought him to this level and got all this kind of attention around his name, the shot making, just the utter confidence and the ability to do certain things and score the ball. That was all there. And while I do still think there are questions about him, he looked really good. He didn't force too much. He made some nice plays defensively along the way as well. And as a passer, he kind of let the game come to him in a good way. And I think that was a really nice performance for him to kind of put his name back in the hat and show that he does belong in these draft conversations still. I'm excited to see what he does the rest of the year, and hopefully he will be able to kind of get back on track in a big way. And we'll hopefully be able to talk a little bit more in detail, whether that's on Twitter or in future YouTube videos, on his game and kind of what he needs to do to show that he can be effective in a role that's not completely focused on him and his game, and do the little things also to complement just winning basketball. So shout out to Emoni for his opening night performance. Moving on, we've got Jarris Walker out of Houston. He didn't shoot the ball well in his first game either, but he bounced back in the second. He's a 6'8", 6'9" forward who really makes an impact defensively, and that has all been apparent in the first minutes that he's played this season. He knocked down some threes in that second game as well, and that was good to see. So he's very much looked the part of a top 10 pick so far. I kind of try to keep those loose at this point of the year, but yeah, he kind of looks like everything you'd want out of a modern 4-man, and for Houston specifically, I think that he fits perfectly. I've said it multiple times, but his style of play and the kind of attitude and the energy that they bring to the floor matches what he does perfectly. So I think that he is going to have a really big time year for them Another freshman who's made some big time noise to start this season is Kansas's Grady Dick. He's an absolute knockdown shooter. If you don't know by now, you will know pretty quickly into any of these KU games. He seems to always be in the right place at the right time, whether that's offensively or defensively. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. And in those games, he's got out in transition pretty well, made a couple plays. He's just solid across the board. He's going to be one of the very best freshmen in the country and play a big role in KU having another deep tournament run. And yeah, if you're a fan of three-point shooting in any way, he's definitely a guy that you're going to want to watch. And I think that his shooting splits are going to be pretty impressive over the course of the year. Some other guys on his team that I think are going to have major NBA sort of noise by the end of the year is Jalen Wilson. He's kind of taking that next step offensively and kind of leading the way, and the shot looks good so far this year. That's been a big question of his in the past. Hopefully he is able to keep that up. He looks like a definite sort of second round type of pick. And another guy is Kevin McCullough, transferring from Texas Tech. But we'll see what he does as he gets more acclimated and comfortable within this KU offense and kind of finds his niche and everything like that. And you've also got guys on this team like MJ Rice, KJ Adams, who will probably make some noise in that department as well. Another freshman who I think has impressed in a lot of ways is Jet Howard. Even going back to the exhibitions, he's a 6'8" dude who can really shoot the ball. He's a really fluid mover, can do a little bit off the dribble as well. I think he's been solid defensively to start the year. Also, he didn't have as much of an impact in the Eastern Michigan game as he did in the first. I still think, NBA prospect wise, I think that he could end up getting into that lottery range for what he can do on both ends of the floor. So he's definitely one to kind of keep watching and keep on your radar throughout the year. Kentucky's Cason Wallace had a really nice start to his college career, going nearly for a triple-double in his first game. He had a really good start to the second game in the first half. I've only seen the first half of that, so I didn't get to see the second half and what happened. I know he almost got hurt at the end. Xavier Wheeler came back, and that kind of, threw a few things off in my opinion. But it was good to see him kind of act as the primary and show some of the things that he showed as a creator and as a three-point shooter. So definitely want to see how those things kind of transpire throughout the year, but you already know what he can bring defensively. I think that alone is going to keep him in lottery conversations. I think that he is, potentially special. On that end of the floor, another big time freshman who we've kind of had our questions about is South Carolina's G.G. Jackson. He had an impressive double-double in his first game, and in the second he looked more like a super young player as he is, still 17 years old. I'm a lot more curious to see what he looks like in game 20 rather than game 2, but he's already shown some flashes to keep you interested, especially athletically and on the glass, and with some of his ability to create from the wing, especially at that size. So for Quavion Smith, been one of the most impressive college basketball players so far this year. He's looking like a near lottery pick, if not a lottery pick right now. He had major draft buzz last year, but he made a great decision coming back for a year to kind of work on his abilities as a passer, as a finisher, and defensively, and he's done that so far early in the year. I would guess that he'll be gunning for that ACC Player of the Year crown. That'll be contingent on how many games they can win at NC State, but right now he looks great. Big time shot creator, big time shooter, and again, like a real potential lottery pick in my eyes if he can kind of put together the rest of his game. A guy we mentioned a little bit earlier in terms of injuries is Kel'el Ware out of Oregon. Now he's coming back from an injury himself and he's been on a minutes restriction. Oregon lost the second game actually. I don't have too many takeaways with him right now because he is kind of working back and everything. I thought that he did some things really well defensively in that first game. I haven't been able to watch the second one just yet, but I am looking forward to seeing him go up against Jarris Walker in Houston on November 20th, and hopefully he is closer to a full go at that point so we can get a better look at what he can do, and hopefully that game is somewhat competitive, but I have a feeling Houston is going to kind of run away with that one. Getting into some of those more teams that have a lot of prospects, and I just kind of want to cover some of the things that I've seen early on in the season. We've got Duke starting off with Tyrese Proctor. I've been somewhat disappointed by what he's done to start this year. He's 1 for 12 from the field in his 45 minutes over 2 games. He still had plenty of flashes, kind of navigating the pick and roll and making plays for others, but it hasn't come together fully, and they're really going to need him to kind of step up and fill that role with Dariq Whitehead out, and hopefully he will get a little bit more comfortable throughout the year because he does have some high level talent. Derek Lively, we mentioned him earlier as one of those guys kind of working his way back from injury. He returned to the floor and played 15 minutes against South Carolina Upstate. He had 4 points, 2 blocks. Again, it's really tough, especially just level of competition and just working his way back from injury to really put any real stock into what happened. But he's still on definite lottery watch early in this year. I think both Kyle Filipowski and Mark Mitchell have made a good first impression for different reasons. I really like Flip's ability to stretch the floor and kind of operate and make plays in a lot of different spots for them. I think that's been a really good welcome sight to see from him, and he's been effective on the glass as well. And then, Mark Mitchell has brought some much needed energy to the floor as a versatile athletic lefty forward. I'm not sure about him being a one and done. I think the shooting is going to have a big say in that, and also just kind of how he looks defensively, whether it's guarding on the perimeter or just kind of finding a spot that he's most effective in. But he does look like somebody who is able to be a big time contributor for them this season already, and that was kind of in question coming into the year also, so that's good to see. And then obviously Jeremy Roach, big returner from their Final Four run last year. He looks like a future pro so far this year. I think that this is a much different look for him than he's had in the past. He's kind of probably have to kind of carry them on a lot of nights offensively, just until Derek is back and we see what he can do. But yeah, for them to get to anywhere significant this year is going to have to come from what Jeremy Roach does, in my opinion. All that being said, I can't say that I'm necessarily a huge fan of this Duke team. I think they're kind of funky positionally. I don't know how all the parts really fit together, and they're also super young, but it should be interesting to see them go up against Kansas on Tuesday. We'll get an early look at where they are as a team right now and just kind of the growth potential for everything. Arkansas has been one of the more publicized and kind of hyped teams coming into the season for good reason. They've got 3 McDonald's All-Americans in Nick Smith Jr., Anthony Black, and Jordan Walsh. They've got some big time transfers and returners in there as well. But starting with Nick Smith, he hasn't made his debut yet, dealing with a knee injury that'll keep him out indefinitely. Like we mentioned earlier, I would hope that this is an injury they're kind of being more cautious about against these sort of lower level teams, and want him to get back to as close to 100% as possible, because he is a potential top 5 pick. But the guy who's been really their best player to me so far is Ricky Council IV. He kind of picked up the slack of everything, coming out the gates with a huge 22-point performance, and then coming back again, giving you 15 points and 7 assists in game 2. He looks like a legit draft prospect right now. One heck of an athlete, transferring in from Wichita State, and I think he's someone that's going to be key in their success along with those freshmen. But I've been really impressed by what he did. That drive that he had and the reverse dunk. I know Jamal Murray just did that with one hand like a few days before. I can't remember too many times coming from the middle and doing that I've seen someone do it. Obviously on the baseline, that's a little bit easier, but that's some next level stuff right there. And I'm excited to kind of watch and see who he might be at the next level. Anthony Black hasn't had the best start on the other side of things. I think the shot is still very much in question. I do still worry some about his ability to kind of create constant pressure on a defense, but he still made a real impact defensively. He's super unselfish. But yeah, we're going to give him time to kind of figure things out and see how he looks throughout the year. Another freshman, Jordan Walsh, he got the start in the second game. It was pretty impressive in that one. He's only playing about 20 minutes a night so far. I think he's a really key piece for their success this year, and another one I just kind of want to see get settled into his role a little more, and as they start playing better competition, just seeing what he does and the type of minutes that he ends up getting more consistently. And then finally, Trayvon Brazile, he was special in night 1 against North Dakota, really solid against Fordham. He's a special athlete, consistent on the glass. He's a present at the bucket as a rim protector, and now he's looking like a serious threat from deep. So he's looking the part as that early second, first round pick type of guy right now. So I'm very excited to watch what he does throughout this year. I've got to talk about Creighton. They are led by Arthur Kaluma, second-year guy. He had some really big moments down the stretch. I think that he is a definite first-round pick at this point. He hasn't shot the ball particularly well yet, but he's more than looked the part. He's a growingly impressive creator, and somebody who I think is going to have a lot of fans by the end of the year in terms of draft potential. You've got Baylor Shireman fitting in well as that lefty shooter and sort of playmaker on the wing transferring from South Dakota State. Trey Alexander is another big-time sophomore to watch. You got Ryan Kalkbrenner, who is going to do numbers in the Big East as a big man. I think that's abundantly clear, and he also has some future NBA potential that I kind of want to see and kind of judge over the course of the year. And then you've got Ryan Nembhard running the show, who is basically just a smaller version of his brother, you guys know, from Gonzaga, now with the Pacers. So Creighton's going to be one of the best teams in the country, I think, in my opinion, and they have future pros on this team as well. So Pepperdine has Maxwell Lewis, Houston Millett, and also Javon Porter, who is Michael Porter Jr. and Jonte Porter, his brother, younger brother. Maxwell Lewis, I think that he is nearing closer to sort of that top 20, top 25 type of range. I know they're playing right now. Let me check this score real quick, but just what Maxwell can do as a 6'7" wing, somebody who can knock down threes. He's a good athlete, does a really good job of navigating screens, defending on the perimeter. He's a smart player on that end as well. I think that he is a big time NBA draft prospect. You've also got Houston Millett. I think he's got a good chance of getting drafted, whether that's this year or next year. And with what he can do as a shooter, as a pick and roll player, all at about 6'4", 6'5", he's probably going to be one of my favorites to watch in college throughout the year. But here it goes. Here they are playing Alabama State. They are up 22 at halftime. Houston Millett has 3 threes, 9 points. Okay, yeah, they're playing pretty well. But yeah, those two, and also with Javon Porter, who he's had some moments early on in this year. He's basically a 6'11" forward slash, kind of big with a lot of ball skills. There's a lot of stuff to like with him, being able to put the ball on the floor and also shoot it from deep. So Pepperdine is a definite team to watch if you're watching the West Coast Conference. And finally, Texas is headlined by Dylan Mitchell and Tyrese Hunter. Dylan Mitchell was productive in his first college action as an athletic energy forward. He had 8 rebounds against Houston Christian. He gets out in transition with ease, and he's going to have some special highlights this year, that is for sure. I still don't know what he is at the next level just yet. I think we'll be able to figure that out, especially as we get into Big 12 play. Just kind of the role that he can play offensively. And then you've got Tyrese Hunter, who transferred from Iowa State. We're kind of still waiting on the 3-point shot. I do think that it's more improved than the 1-for-7 start shows, but it's definitely the major swing skill for him that you want to see kind of come to fruition this year. And yeah, basically with him, there's a logjam of like the smaller guards, the Marcus Sassers, the Mike Miles. I feel like we're forgetting somebody, but kind of in that like draftable group. I think that he honestly has as good of a chance as any of them to kind of crack that first round, as hard as it is to be a sub 6'2" guy and do that. But he has been impressive so far. But yeah, that's mostly what we wanted to kind of get into in terms of first impressions for this video. My one sleeper of the week, or of the early season in college, is Brandon Podziemski out of Santa Clara. He transferred in from Illinois, where he averaged about 1 point a game, didn't get too many significant minutes during his freshman season. Right now he's averaging a 30-point double-double. He's just lighting the net up as a smooth lefty who's also a solid athlete at about 6'5". He's knocking out threes, he's getting to the bucket, he's making a lot of plays, playing with a lot of confidence. He's kind of taking over for Jalen Williams, who is on the Thunder now in that role, and he's getting way more opportunity at a mid-major than he did at Illinois. And right now it's paying off big time for him. Yeah, I definitely want to keep eyes on him, and he is my, potential gem or diamond in the rough so far early in this season. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new around here, and comment down below some of your first impressions of a lot of these guys. We will be getting into the GLeague Ignite guys, the first impressions of their season, in part 2 of this video, and also the rest of the guys who maybe you thought that we should mention. They're probably in there. But yeah, that's all I've got for this one. I'm gonna go get some water, and I'm gonna talk about part 2, so definitely go click on that video if it is out, or wait on it the next day. So appreciate y'all for watching. I'm Keandre, this is Intellect. Until next time, I'm out.
They don't really love you like they say they do. Yeah. For your spirit and your energy, they using you. Got my own friends.